The old man who lived in the house across the street died on a Tuesday, and by Friday, someone new was already moving in. From his home office window, Thomas watched the beat-up moving truck unload what little furniture it held. It was a young woman who looked to be in her late 20s, the same as him. He gave a friendly wave when she glanced over, but her expression remained flat, her eyes seeming to look right through him before she turned and disappeared inside the small Tudor-style house. Thomas shrugged it off. Moving day was always stressful. For the first few weeks, she was a ghost. No lights on in the evening, no car in the driveway, no sign of life at all, except for one peculiar habit. Every morning, just as the sun was beginning to cast long shadows down the quiet suburban street, she would walk out to her mailbox. Thomas would see her from his kitchen window as he made his morning coffee. She never drove, never walked anywhere else, just to the end of her driveway. She'd open the small metal door, reach inside, and then stand there for a long time, sometimes a full minute, just staring into the empty box before closing it and walking back inside. It was strange, but Thomas figured she was waiting for something important, maybe a letter from a loved one or a crucial document. He was a freelance graphic designer and a creature of habit himself, so he didn't judge. But as weeks turned into a month, the ritual became unsettling. The mail carrier, a cheerful man named Dave, always bypassed her house. He knew this because Dave would always give a hearty shout of, "Morning, Tom," as he dropped off his own mail. He never once saw Dave stop at the house across the street. So what was she checking for? One rainy Thursday, Thomas's curiosity got the better of him. He was expecting a package and saw Dave's truck pull up. After a brief chat, Thomas casually asked, "Hey Dave, you ever delivered to the house across the street, number 237? Dave furrowed his brow, his cheerful demeanor momentarily replaced with confusion. 237? Old Mr. Abernathy's place? He passed away, God rest his soul. Last I heard, the house was still in probate. No one's living there, Tom. It's been empty for months." A cold knot formed in Thomas's stomach. "No, a woman moved in about a month ago. Young woman, dark hair." Dave shook his head, rain dripping from the brim of his hat. "Nope, I handle all the mail for this route. The post office has it listed as vacant. I haven't delivered a single piece of mail there since Mr. Abernathy's passing. Are you sure you're mistaken?" The knot in Thomas's stomach tightened. He had seen her. He saw her every morning. He forced a laugh. "Yeah, must be my eyes playing tricks on me. Working too late." Dave chuckled and went on his way, but the unease lingered with Thomas for the rest of the day. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept replaying Dave's words in his head. No one's living there. He crept to his office window, the one that gave him a clear view of the house across the street. It was dark, as usual, a silent silhouette against the moonlit sky. He felt a chill crawl up his spine, a primal fear that he couldn't quite explain. He was being irrational, he told himself. There had to be a logical explanation. The next morning, he was at his kitchen window earlier than usual, his heart pounding in his chest. And just as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the morning mist, her front door opened. The woman emerged wearing a simple white dress that seemed to glow in the dawn light. She walked to the mailbox, her movements slow and deliberate. She opened it, reached inside, and then stood there for a long time, sometimes a full minute, just staring into the empty box before closing it and walking back inside. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice sounding louder than he intended. The woman didn't move. She just stood there, her back to him, her hand still inside the mailbox. "I'm your neighbor, Thomas. I just wanted to introduce myself." She finally turned and the breath caught in Thomas's throat. Her face was pale, unnaturally so, her skin almost translucent. Her eyes were dark and sunken, devoid of any emotion. She looked at him, but it was the same vacant stare from the day she moved in. Are you waiting for something?" he stammered, his eyes darting to the mailbox. She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly pulled her hand out of the mailbox. She wasn't holding a letter. She was holding a single withered black rose. Its petals were dry and brittle, and as he watched, one of them crumbled to dust in the morning breeze. She turned and walked back to the house, her bare feet making no sound on the pavement. The front door opened and closed without a creak, and she was gone. Thomas was left standing on the sidewalk, his mind reeling. He hesitantly approached the mailbox, the sweet, rotten smell growing stronger. With a trembling hand, he pulled open the small metal door and peered inside. It wasn't empty. The back of the mailbox wasn't metal. It was a dark, gaping hole, a tunnel that seemed to stretch into an impossible inky blackness. A cold, foul-smelling draft emanated from it, chilling him to the bone. He slammed the door shut, his heart hammering against his ribs. He spent the rest of the day in a state of quiet terror, peeking out his window every few minutes. The house across the street remained silent and dark. He never saw the woman with the black rose again. A week later, a for sale sign was staked into the lawn of 237. When the realtor showed up, a bubbly woman in a bright red blazer, Thomas went over, desperate for answers. "Hi," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I live across the street. I was just curious about the previous resident." The realtor gave him a puzzled look. "Previous resident? Oh, you must mean Mr. Abernathy. Such a sweet old man. The house has been empty since he passed. His children are finally selling it." "No, Thomas," insisted his voice, dropping to a whisper. "The woman who is here. She was here for about a month." The realtor's smile faltered. "Sir, I can assure you, no one has lived in this house for almost a year. We've had it professionally cleaned and inspected. It's been completely vacant." Thomas felt the blood drain from his face. He knew what he had seen. He knew she was real. He never told anyone else about the woman with the black rose. He tried to forget, to convince himself it was a hallucination, a waking nightmare. But every morning, as he made his coffee, he would find himself staring at the house across the street, at the small, unassuming mailbox at the end of the driveway. He knew it was empty now, just a regular mailbox. But he also knew that for a month, it hadn't been a mailbox at all. It had been a delivery point. And he couldn't shake the terrifying, unanswerable question, what exactly was being delivered, and from where? The only thing he knew for sure was that he was glad he never got a closer look into that dark, endless hole. And he prayed he would never find out what would have happened if he had. He sold his house a few months later. He couldn't stand the sight of that mailbox, a constant reminder of the woman who was never there, and the mail that was never sent.